A video that links two of my favorite teams with yet another team. Interesting. Today, what I wanted to do was head over onto the hockeynews.com and bring up a discussion revolving around the New York Islanders. Take a look at this post made by Steven Rossner from November 3rd, 2024. The Islanders are on the lookout for left side defensemen. Here are 3 trade possibilities. With Adam Pelech and Mike Reilly injured, the Islanders need a left side D-man. Now, this is not necessarily brand new. It was already kind of known that the Isles were in a pretty tough spot with their defensive lines and the guys that they have available to them, because right now, if you go over to their D pairings, you've got Alexander Romanov with the little game time decision note, Noah Dobson, Ryan Pulock, Scott Mayfield, Dennis Cholowski, and Grant Hutton. Yeah, those guys aren't necessarily great towards the end there, and there are other guys who are out, like Pelech and Reilly. If you think about Romanov as a day-to-day guy, this really bodes poorly for the Islanders and their defensive quality, so is now the time to go out there and make some sort of a panic trade. This is where the article dives into some of the latest with the New York Islanders and what they could be looking for. Take a look at this. There is no timetable for how long Mike Reilly will be out. As of now, he is day-to-day per Islanders GM Lou Lamoriello. With Adam Pelech out 4 to 6 weeks too, the Islanders require a left-handed D-man and are on the lookout. Lamoriello said you are always looking to improve, especially now with all the injuries. I think you're always doing that, but obviously when you have a couple of players that go down the way they did, you certainly are paying attention to whatever can and cannot be done, Lamoriello said. Coincidentally enough, Reilly was a waiver wire pickup from last season in late November after Pelech and Sebastian Aho were hurt in a game against the Ottawa Senators. So, what are the Islanders' options? This is where the article dives into 3 separate names. I wanted to talk about 2 of them, like really focus in on 2 of them, but we could talk about the 3rd one as well. Detroit Red Wings defenseman Erik Gustafsson, who had played for the Rangers last season and someone who the Islanders brought to training camp on a PTO in 2021, is playing his offside and has been healthy scratched 4 times in 11 games. He carries a cap hit of $2 million and has 2 assists this season. Could Erik Brannstrom from Vancouver be an option? The 25-year-old suffered a similar fate to Reilly against the Islanders after a Cal Clutterbuck hit. He had to be stretchered off, and is a defenseman that the Islanders likely had on their radar when he was with the Ottawa Senators. This summer, Brannstrom signed a 1-year deal with the Canucks. No, that's incorrect. He had signed the deal with the Colorado Avalanche, and then he was traded over to Vancouver. Difference there. He is currently playing as offside on their bottom pairing. Yeah, okay, I guess you could say that's accurate as of, like, right now, with him playing with Derek Forbort. There were some shifts where he was on the left side, though, so not necessarily consistent there. He does kill penalties, too, which is huge. Yeah, I guess you could say he does. I don't want to put Erik Brannstrom into any sort of a box at this point in time, considering his position with the team not really being all too constant. Brendan Smith in Dallas is on a 1-year deal worth $1 million and has only played in 5 of their 11 games this season. He is a physical presence and can play on the PK. Every team knows that the Islanders are in need of a left side D-man, with Grant Hutton lightly playing on his offside against the Rangers on Sunday. So that means the Islanders do not have any leverage. However, all 3 players listed aren't top-flight players, just depth options, and 2 of the 3 are not even playing every game. Mid to late round draft picks should do the trick. So I wanted to dive into these 2 guys, the guy from Vancouver and the guy from Detroit. Let's start out with Erik Gustafsson, because Gustafsson's a pretty interesting name considering his offensive prowess that always seems to be there if you actually give him the opportunity to show it. 31 points last year, 38 the year before that. Obviously, we recognize that his prime season was a 60-point year all the way back in 2018-19, but this year he's got 2 points in 7 games played and is on pace for about 22 points. He hasn't played every game with the Red Wings, he gets scratched once in a while, but the Wings, ever since trading away Olli Maatta, kind of are forced to use Erik Gustafsson a little bit more. I mean, they're using him more so on a power play role, and they're not really giving him as much 5-on-5 ice time as you would expect. But he is still there. He's making $2 million, so he is decently expensive. However, because the Wings already traded away Olli Maatta, I don't necessarily think there's room for movement here with Gustafsson unless You really just wanted to believe in some of the other guys the Wings have in their system. Okay, great. Simon Edvinsson and Seider, they're there. Albert Johansson, they're there. If you wanted to call somebody up from Grand Rapids, then okay, but really, there aren't too many options that I think would fit the bill. Anyways, Erik Gustafsson, we had spoken about this in a video earlier in the season, but him, Patrick Kane, and Alex DeBrincat were a part of that super amazing power play in Chicago in 2019, where Gustafsson had that 60-point campaign. He was feeding it over to DeBrincat and Kane, and they were putting the puck in the back of the net, so that's where a lot of that production came from. Has it been a little bit difficult to replicate that level of success with Gustafsson in Detroit? Yeah, definitely. He's not that kind of a guy anymore. But he still is a player who, if you give him as much power play time as you could give him, could probably get that point production up a little bit more. I mean, he's listed on the second power play unit right now in Daily Faceoff, which indicates to me that although he has been getting some power play time, it hasn't necessarily been the best time that he could get. I mean, last season, it's not like they took off Adam Fox in the first power play to put Erik Gustafsson, but he still had a 30-something point year. Also should be worth mentioning that New York is just a better offensive team than Detroit, at least generally speaking, right? I think Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, and Alexis Lafreniere would be a little bit better than Larkin and Raymond and DeBrincat at this point. But anyways, I digress. Erik Gustafsson is an interesting enough name for Detroit, but I don't think the Wings would be in a position to wanting to trade him away. It depends on the price, though, right? Same thing could be said about the other guy here, Erik Brannstrom of the Vancouver Canucks. Now, Brannstrom is a good player. Very, very strong Vancouver Canucks defenseman who, in limited minutes, has been one of the better guys on this team. He moves the puck well, he's mobile, he can make good decisions in the O-zone, he can break the puck out in the Z-zone very well too. He has been a very versatile option, and for a guy who was acquired in the Tucker Poolman trade, you can say that Erik Brannstrom has been one of these bright spots for the Vancouver Canucks, acquisition-wise from Patrick Allvin. He has just bred in new life to this decor. And, okay, maybe that's a bit dramatic to say for a guy that maybe only plays sometimes 10 minutes a night, but Erik Brannstrom was a breath of fresh air for a core that just really wasn't getting it done beyond the top pairing. Susie Myers has been horrendous this season, Forbort has been in and out of the lineup, Noah Juleson, Desharnais, same thing, these guys were all just kind of rotating and none of them are particularly too great. So for Erik Brannstrom to step in and actually be passable, good enough to actually be given some meaningful praise from the fans, that's a pretty big deal for Vancouver. At this point, it's going to be very difficult for any team, like the Islanders, for example, to pry away Erik Brannstrom from Vancouver's grubby paws. It's going to be difficult to justify trading away a guy who has provided so much extra value beyond that top pairing. I mean, if Brannstrom ends up on the highlight reel maybe once every 2 weeks or so for the rest of the year, I actually wouldn't be surprised. He just has that skill set to be able to pop out a really fancy move once in a while. He's kind of like discount Quinn Hughes in the best way possible. So you bet your behind the Vancouver Canucks are not going to be giving that up anytime soon. If the Islanders were to get this player, though, same thing with Erik Brannstrom. A lot of offensively leaning potential there with this player, so if you wanted to thrust him onto a power play, that would certainly make sense. I don't know if the Islanders necessarily need a guy like that, but if it is something that you think is valuable for this team, then you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Big divergence between Gustafsson and Brannstrom from the other guy that was talked about in the article, Brendan Smith. A lot more of a physical, less kind of offensively leaning guy. But at the end of the day, this is a video topic that I did think was interesting enough because it was revolving around two of my three favorite teams. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about these three guys. Smith, Gustafsson, Brannstrom. If you are a New York Islanders fan, what are your thoughts? And do you think your team should go out there and try to acquire these players? If you're a Canucks fan, what do you think it should take for Patrick Allvin to accept some sort of a Brannstrom trade? And the same thing could be asked to Wings fans. What are your thoughts on Yzerman talking about Gustafsson on some kind of hypothetical situation? Do you think there's movement there to be had? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.